Hey guys, this is Daryl Addison at Torpedopot.com. Daryl Addison at Torpedopot.com. I wanted to show you, we talked earlier about how we store our shrubs and our trees in the torpedo pot. But what I didn't speak about is that we have strawberries here. We have raspberry. There's an Encore raspberry, and we have Encore, all the raspberries. So we have a lot of raspberries here, and so it's the end of the season, and just like the trees, we got to sell on the on these particular berries, and yeah, I think they're all raspberries. So instead of us throwing them away, because these plants right now, I mean, you get them in a home store. I don't know. I think it might cost like, oh, it's $10.99, but I can get them for what, $1, and I'll have them sitting in my torpedo pot for next year. So what you do is that you buy your plant and you just simply store it in your torpedo pot, okay? So next year you'll be prepared for when this plant takes off. In the torpedo pot, when it's getting water, it's probably going to jump faster than anything you have in the ground, okay? This will jump in order to take off and start growing because you got the environment pre-prepared for it, okay? The time to prepare the environment and the soil should be the year before. Anytime you have to bring in stuff to prepare your environment, the year of your planting, your soil hasn't adjusted to the bioactivity around it. So you have to give it time. So the torpedo pot is a great way to jumpstart your gardening process and get you right into the thick of things. Now, these are self-watering flower pots. And as you can see in the front, they have knobs and the base there. And so when you turn the knob, it allows water to flow into, again, I got 70 pots in my house. Each one can cut on and off at different time periods. When it gets hotter, then you have to make sure you leave enough room for the water to flow through. So in this case, we have a tree in this planter. But in this planter, we may be growing maybe 1,000 green peppers, okay? So this has a dual knob control. This has a single knob control, these open planters. So what makes the torpedo, being the long stem portion, and the pot different from just the curved pot, of course, is the torpedo. But what does that mean? That means you have a massive, you've doubled your growing area. So if I'm growing cilantros or thyme, and I want to put it in here, it grows perfectly. But if I'm growing something like lemongrass, I might put like 40 lemongrass, I would say about, maybe about 8 or 10 lemongrass plants in this planter. And for the torpedo, the curved pot, as far as the torpedo is concerned, oh sheesh, I probably put about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 16. I would say I probably put about 20, 25 in there. Yeah, I would have put 25 in there. Because I want it to bush out. Now remember now, you're giving this water when you turn that knob. So when you turn the knob, the water comes up into the torpedo, feeds your plants nutrients or whatever you like to give it. So a lot of people say, Mr. Addison, there cannot be enough room in your torpedo to grow squash. Like we grew 20 squash out of a torpedo. We could have had more, but I messed up with my ability to be able to pollinate. But anyhow, so this, we're able to massively grow it because plants, it's not about the amount of space that a plant needs. What's more concerning to a plant is providing an area where that it can just readily feed itself. I mean, if water were accessible to every plant, you won't have the long roots. Roots don't have to go searching for things. Likewise, nutrients in the ground, it doesn't have to search for it if it's right there. I mean, that's one of the keys to the torpedo pot. The second thing to the torpedo pot is that you don't need a lot of space, but it's, how do I say it? We're creating an environment inside this torpedo. See, when you put your plants in the ground, it has to adjust to the living things that are in the soil. In a torpedo pot, you've actually taken that out as a variable. You made everything uniform so you don't have to fight with competing organisms. And if it does have to fight, because it has such an abundance of like-minded plants that are in there of the same species, it can fight back by itself. It can create its own environment. So what it wants to do, plants want to create their own environment. Fertilizers are great. I mean, they do the job. They make them bounce up. They make them look colors. You can do anything you want to genetically or whatever. But what's so good about the bioenvironment is that it gives the plant a chance to create an environment that benefits itself. So in the torpedo pot, with the water, the plant gets to work with the bacteria, gets to work with the fungus. The fungus is a key component. Any type of living organisms. We had some arthropods that were in one of the pots. I opened it up and looked in there, and they were just having a great time because they love eating plant roots. So you have a lot of activity taking place in your torpedo pot that you don't know about. So it's the growing area, is how it breaks down the food, and how water is distributed even through the pod. It's how it's laid out and it's designed to give you the maximum amount of growth area. This torpedo pot grew about 52 eggplants. I mean, it went up tremendously high. It was very, very high. It was 10 feet high. And you probably see pictures of it, where we were standing in front of it, and it's just very, very big. So likewise, it doesn't matter if it's going to be eggplant, if it's going to be green peppers, Hungarian peppers, tomatoes. It doesn't matter what it is. Torpedo pot will grow it for you. Squash like we've never seen before. I mean, not only can you grow squash in a torpedo, this is the 3-inch, but the 4-inch torpedo, we use it for squash, but you can squash at the base here. So and some of my tomato planters, I had squash at the base, and I grew squash at the base. So I could grow multiple plants and multiple arrangements as I like. So the bioactivity is the same throughout the pot, or it's trying to maintain itself, and I'm trying to help it. And the flow is great, and the fungus is developing. You're creating an environment for that plant to go in and just feast, have a field day, you know? Have a field day. So, okay, this is Darryl Addison at torpedopot.com. I wanted to share that with you guys. And I'm sorry for taking so long in this video, but we look to see what you guys later on. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.